The cargo container weighed more than it should. Dayun felt his shoulders burning as he pushed the damaged equipment through the corridor. His worn boots scraped against the metal floor of orbital station Kalith Prime. The station hummed with life around him. Voices echoed from every direction. Some he recognized as human, most he did not. He kept his hood up, always kept his hood up. The fabric hid his face, and that was how he wanted it. No one looked twice at cargo workers anyway. They were invisible. That suited him fine. The corridor ahead opened into a wider junction. Dayun saw the crowd gathering there and his stomach tightened. Military personnel. He recognized the insignias from a dozen different species. The Dominion Guard held some kind of ceremony today. He had heard other workers talking about it in the loading bays. He should have taken another route, but the container was already losing hydraulic pressure. The alternative path would take another 20 minutes. His supervisor would dock his pay again. Dayun lowered his head and pushed forward. The armor caught his eye first. Deep crimson polished until it gleamed under the station lights. The warrior wearing it stood a head taller than him. Her species was Valith, he knew. Reptilian features, scales that shifted between red and gold depending on the light. She carried herself like someone who had never lost a fight. Her unit surrounded her. 6 more warriors in similar armor, though none as elaborate as hers. They were preparing for something. The other species gave them space. Even among the Dominion Guard, the Valith commanded respect. Dayun tried to move around them. He really did. But the container's damaged wheel caught on a floor grate. The whole thing lurched sideways. He fought to control it, muscles straining. For a moment he thought he had it. Then the wheel broke completely. The container swung wild. Dayun stumbled forward, unable to stop his momentum. His shoulder hit something solid. Something that gave slightly under the impact. He heard a scraping sound, metal on metal. His grease-stained jacket left a dark smear across polished armor. Time seemed to stop. Dayun looked up. The Valith warrior stared down at him. Her eyes were golden, with vertical pupils that contracted to thin lines. He saw his reflection in those eyes. Small, dirty, insignificant. Then he saw her hand move to her blade. The sword cleared its sheath with a sound like a whisper. The edge came to rest against his throat. Dayun felt the cold metal pressing into his skin. One movement, one flinch, and it would open his artery. He knew enough about blades to understand that much. The other warriors closed in. They formed a circle around him, blocking escape. Not that he would run. Running only made things worse. The warrior spoke. Her voice carried the weight of command. "You dare touch the armor of Aaron, commander of the 7th Claw? You dare mark it with your filth?" Dayun said nothing. What could he say? He had touched her armor. The black smear of grease stood out like a wound against the crimson surface. "By the laws of my people," Aaron continued, "such disrespect demands blood. Your blood." The station's environmental systems chose that moment to cycle. A gust of air rushed through the junction, strong enough to tug at clothing, strong enough to pull back Dayun's hood. The fabric fell away from his face. Aaron's eyes locked with his. Dayun did not look away. He had learned long ago that looking away made predators strike faster. So he met her gaze. Let her see whatever she wanted to see. What she saw made her pause. The blade remained at his throat. But something changed in her expression. Her pupils dilated slightly. The pressure of the sword eased just a fraction. Dayun watched her study his face, his dark eyes, the lines around them that made him look older than his years, the scar that ran from his left temple down to his jaw, the complete absence of fear in his expression. Not because he was brave, he was just tired. "You do not beg," Aaron said. Not a question, an observation. "Would it matter?" Dayun asked. His voice was quiet, rough from disuse. One of the other warriors, a male with darker scales, stepped forward. "Commander, he has insulted you before the gathered forces. Honor demands." Aaron raised her free hand. The warrior fell silent immediately. She kept her eyes on Dayun. "What is your name, human?" "Dayun." Just Dayun? Just Dayun. Erin tilted her head slightly. The blade remained steady. You are not afraid. I am afraid, Dayun said. Fear just does not change anything. Something flickered across her face. Curiosity, perhaps, or recognition of something familiar. She looked at the smear on her armor, then back at him. You have damaged ceremonial armor on the day of the gathering of spears. Witnesses surround us. I cannot simply let you walk away. My warriors would see it as weakness. Other species would question Valeth resolve. Dayun waited. He understood politics, even alien politics. She needed to save face. However, Erin continued, I see no malice in your actions, only clumsiness. And perhaps exhaustion. Is this acceptable, human? You seem too tired to run proper cargo. I am tired, Dayun admitted. No point in lying. Erin finally lowered her blade. She sheathed it with a smooth motion. But her eyes never left his face. Then you will serve my unit for one cycle. You will maintain our equipment, clean our quarters, perform whatever tasks we require. This will restore the honor you have damaged. At the end of one cycle, your debt is paid. Do you accept? It was not really a question, but Dayun appreciated that she framed it as one. I accept. Good. Erin turned to her warriors. Return to preparations. We depart for the Talon's Edge within the hour. She looked back at Dayun. You will come with us. Bring nothing you cannot carry. We do not wait for stragglers. The warriors dispersed. The crowd that had gathered began to break up, disappointed that no blood had been spilled. Dayun stood alone with the broken container and his scattered cargo. Erin remained a moment longer. She studied him with those golden eyes. You have strange eyes, human. Old eyes. How long have you been working cargo? 3 months. And before that? Dayun pulled his hood back up. Before that does not matter. He expected her to press, to demand an answer. Instead, she simply nodded. Perhaps, she said. But I think it matters more than you wish it to. I think those eyes have seen things. Dark things. She turned and walked away, her crimson armor gleaming. The dark smear stood out against the polish. She made no effort to wipe it away. Dayun watched her go. Then he looked down at his hands. They were steady. They had not shaken when she held the blade to his throat. They had not shaken in a long time. He wondered if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Probably bad. He left the broken container where it lay. Someone else would deal with it. He had 1 hour to report to a warship. 1 hour before his carefully constructed invisibility shattered completely. He should have taken the other route. But then should-haves never changed anything. He had learned that lesson long ago, written in blood and fire across worlds he tried not to remember. Dayun walked toward the docking bays, toward the ship called Talon's Edge, toward a warrior named Erin, who had seen something in his eyes that made her hesitate. He hoped she would not regret her mercy. He hoped he would not give her reason to. The warship Talon's Edge was larger than Dayun expected. The vessel stretched across 3 docking ports. Its hull painted the same deep crimson as Erin's armor. Weapons bristled from every angle. This was not a ship built for exploration. This was a ship built to kill. Dayun carried his single bag up the boarding ramp. A Valeth warrior waited at the entrance, scales a darker shade of bronze. He looked Dayun up and down with obvious disgust. The human who cannot walk straight, the warrior said. I am Kiros, you will follow me. Touch nothing. Speak to no one unless spoken to first. If you cause any damage aboard this ship, I will throw you out an airlock personally. Understood, Dayun said. Kiros led him deep into the ship. The corridors were wider than human vessels, built to accommodate the larger Valeth frames. Every surface gleamed. The Valeth clearly took pride in their ship. They reached the lower deck. Kiros opened a door to reveal a small storage room. Your quarters. Be grateful you get any space at all. Servants normally sleep in the cargo bay. The room held a narrow cot and a small locker. No window. But Dayun had slept in worse places. Much worse places. Rest period ends in 2 hours, Kiros said. You will report to the equipment bay. There is cleaning to be done. He left without waiting for a response. Dayon set his bag on the cot. He sat down and closed his eyes. 2 hours of rest. He should sleep. But sleep brought dreams, and dreams brought memories. So he sat in silence instead, listening to the ship's engines hum to life. The work began immediately. The Valeth warriors gave him every unpleasant task they could imagine. Scrubbing the waste reclamation systems, organizing ammunition stores, polishing armor until his arms ached. They watched him constantly, waiting for him to complain or refuse. He did neither. On the third day, equipment began malfunctioning. A targeting computer in one of the training rooms went offline. The Valeth technician struggled with it for an hour before giving up in frustration. Dayon was cleaning nearby. He glanced at the exposed circuitry and saw the problem immediately. A loose connection in the secondary processor. Simple fix. He kept his mouth shut and continued cleaning, but Kiros had been watching. Human, do you know how to repair this? Dayon hesitated, then nodded. Show me. Dayon set down his cleaning supplies. He approached the targeting computer and studied it for a moment. Then his hands moved quickly, reconnecting the loose wire and rerouting power through a backup circuit. The system hummed back to life. Kiros stared at him. Where did a cargo worker learn to repair military equipment? I worked on ships before, Dayon said. Not technically a lie. What kind of ships? Different kinds. Kiros narrowed his eyes but said nothing more. Word spread quickly. The human could fix things. Soon warriors brought him broken equipment whenever the regular technicians were busy. Dayon repaired everything without comment. Weapon systems, environmental controls, communication arrays. He never wasted motion, never hesitated. His hands remembered what his mind tried to forget. Erin watched from a distance. She said nothing, but Dayon felt her eyes on him often. 2 weeks into the voyage, the warriors decided to have their entertainment. Dayon was in the training room, repairing a damaged gravity plate. Kiros entered with 3 other warriors. They carried practice weapons, blunted but still capable of breaking bones. Human, Kiros called. We have a proposal. You have served adequately so far. We wish to see if you have any other skills. Dayon stood slowly. He recognized the look in their eyes. He had seen it before, in a dozen different species across a dozen different worlds. Boredom-seeking violence. I would prefer not to, Dayon said. I am not asking, Kiros replied. He tossed a practice staff at Dayon's feet. Pick it up. Show us what a human can do, or refuse and prove your species is as weak as we suspect. The other warriors spread out, forming a circle. No escape. They would not let him leave without fighting. And if he refused, they would beat him anyway to satisfy their pride. Dayon picked up the staff. Kiros grinned. He hefted his own weapon, a longer staff with weighted ends. Do not worry, human. We will try not to break too many bones. They circled each other. Kiros struck first, a testing blow aimed at Dayon's shoulder. Dayon blocked it. The impact jarred his arms. The Valeth was strong. Much stronger than a human. Kiros struck again, and again. Each blow came faster than the last. Dayon blocked what he could, dodged what he could not block. But he was outmatched in strength and reach. A strike got through his guard and caught him in the ribs. Pain exploded across his side. Dayon stumbled back. The watching warriors laughed. Kiros pressed his advantage. His staff became a blur. Dayon's blocks grew slower, more desperate. Another strike caught his thigh. Then his shoulder. His body remembered this too. The pattern of taking damage. The calculation of which hits to accept and which to avoid. He was losing. That was clear to everyone watching. But something about how he lost made them stop laughing. Dayon never protected his arms or legs. He took those strikes without flinching, but any blow aimed at his head or core, he blocked or dodged with sudden bursts of speed. He moved like someone who had fought while injured before, someone who knew exactly how much damage he could take and still keep functioning. Kiros noticed too. His strikes became more aggressive, probing, testing. The staff aimed for Dayon's head. Dayon dropped low, letting it whistle overhead. He rolled aside from the follow-up strike. For just a moment he was inside Kiros's guard. His own staff was in position for a strike to the knee. Then Dayon deliberately pulled back and took another hit to the shoulder instead. Kiros swept his legs. Dayon went down hard. The Valeth warrior stood over him, staff pointed at his throat. Yield? Dayon nodded. Yield. Kiros stepped back. The other warriors dispersed, their entertainment finished. But Kairos remained a moment longer, studying Dayun's face. "You have been trained," he said quietly. That was not the flailing of a cargo worker. Dayun sat up slowly. His ribs screamed in protest. "I knew how to lose without getting killed. That is not the same as training." "You lie," Kairos said, but there was no anger in his voice. Only curiosity. "You could have struck my knee. You were in position, I saw it. Why did you not?" "Because then you would have been angry instead of satisfied." "Angry is more dangerous than satisfied." Kairos tilted his head. Then he offered his hand. Dune took it and let the Valeth pull him to his feet. "You are strange, human. You accept pain as if it is nothing. You repair equipment that should be beyond your knowledge. You fight like someone who knows how to survive. Yet you serve us without complaint." "I gave my word," Dayun said simply. "Words are easy. Honor is not. Then I have honor. Or I'm trying to." Kairos studied him a moment longer. Then he nodded and left. Dayun remained in the training room. He touched his ribs gently. Bruised but not broken. He had taken worse. Much worse. The door opened again. Erin entered alone. She had been watching. Of course she had. "You let him win," she said. "He was stronger, faster, longer reach. He won fairly. You could have hurt him. I saw the opening." "So did he." Dayun said nothing. Erin approached until she stood directly in front of him. Her golden eyes searched his face. "Who are you, Dayun? What were you before you pushed cargo containers? Does it matter?" "Yes, because my warriors begin to respect you. Because you move through my ship like a ghost. Because you fix weapons you should not know how to fix and fight in ways you should not know how to fight. And because when I look in your eyes I see something that frightens me." "What do you see?" "Emptiness. The kind that comes after everything is burned away. I have seen it before in soldiers who fought too long, who saw too much, who did things they cannot forgive themselves for." She paused. "You were a soldier once. Were you not?" Dayun met her gaze. No point in denying it anymore. "Yes, once. What happened?" "The war ended." "I did not." Erin was quiet for a long moment. "What war?" "A human war. Humans killing humans. Does it matter which one?" "How long did you fight?" "Too long." She reached out and touched his shoulder. Dayun flinched slightly. Not from pain. From surprise. Her hand was warm despite the scales. "I do not know your story, Dayun, but I recognize a warrior when I see one. Even one who tries to hide." She withdrew her hand. "Your debt to me is almost paid. One more week. Then you are free to go." "Thank you." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "There is no shame in what you were. Only in what you choose to become. Remember that." Then she was gone. Dayun stood alone in the training room. His ribs ached. His body was covered in bruises. But for the first time in 3 months, something stirred in his chest. Not hope. Not quite that, but perhaps the faint memory of what hope used to feel like. He returned to his quarters and lay on the narrow cot. The ship hummed around him, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he slept without dreaming. The alarm pulled Dayun from sleep. Red emergency lights flooded his quarters. The ship's intercom crackled to life with Erin's voice, sharp and commanding. "All warriors to battle stations. We have received a distress signal from mining colony Helix 9. Grath raiders are attacking civilian targets. Deployment in 15 minutes. Dayun was on his feet immediately. Old instincts took over. He pulled on his worn jacket and boots, moving with practiced efficiency. Then he stopped. This was not his fight. He was a servant, not a soldier. Not anymore, but his feet carried him to the deployment bay anyway. The Valeth warriors rushed past him, checking weapons and armor. Kairos saw him and pointed to a corner. "Human, you stay with the shuttle. Guard the equipment. Touch nothing." Dayun nodded and moved to where he was told. Erin emerged from the command deck, her crimson armor fully sealed. Her helmet retracted as she addressed her unit. 6 warriors. Standard breach formation. The Grath have taken the mining tunnels. Civilians are trapped in the lower levels. Our mission is extraction. We go in fast, get them out, and leave before Grath reinforcements arrive. Simple and clean. She looked at each warrior in turn. The Grath do not take prisoners. They kill for sport. Show them no mercy because they will show none to our people. The warriors responded with a unified strike of fist to chest. The sound echoed through the bay. The shuttle dropped from Talon's edge and screamed toward the colony. Dayun sat strapped into a corner, watching the warriors prepare. They moved with the confidence of soldiers who had done this 100 times before. The colony appeared in the viewport. Smoke rose from several structures. The main mining tower showed blast damage. Bodies floated in the zero-gravity sections. The grath had been thorough. The shuttle touched down in a protected landing zone. The warriors deployed immediately, weapons ready. Aaron turned back to look at Daeun. Remember, stay with the shuttle. Do not follow us. Do not try to help. If we are not back in 1 hour, you take this shuttle and return to the ship. That is an order. Then they were gone, disappearing into the colony's tunnel system. Daeun sat alone in the shuttle. The minutes crawled past. He checked his chronometer. 15 minutes. 20. 30. At 43 minutes, the shuttle's communication system crackled. Aaron's voice came through, distorted and broken. Ambushed. Tunnel collapsed. 3 warriors down. Grath everywhere. Need. Static swallowed the rest. Daeun stood. He moved to the shuttle's weapon locker. His hands hovered over the lock. This was not his fight. He had promised himself. No more violence. No more war. The communication system crackled again. This time he heard weapon fire. Screaming. Then nothing. Daeun opened the locker. The plasma rifle felt familiar in his hands. Too familiar. He checked the charge pack automatically. Full. He grabbed 2 spare packs and a combat knife. The blade was well balanced. It would do. He sealed his jacket and pulled up his hood. Then he left the shuttle and entered the colony. The tunnels were dark. Emergency lighting flickered weakly. Daeun moved through the shadows like a ghost. He had done this before. Urban combat. Tunnel fighting. Close quarters where strength mattered less than speed and precision. He followed the sounds of battle. The Grath were loud. They howled and roared, celebrating their kills. The Valeth fought in silence as they were trained. Daeun found the first Grath patrol by accident. 3 of them. Massive creatures with thick armor plating and curved claws. They were dragging a civilian's body behind them. He dropped the first one with a headshot before they realized he was there. The second turned, roaring. Daeun shot it in the throat where the armor plates separated. The third charged. He sidestepped and drove his knife into its spine. All 3 were dead in under 5 seconds. Daeun did not pause. Did not think. He just moved deeper into the tunnels. He found the collapsed section by following the trail of bodies. Grath corpses littered the corridor, testament to the Valeth warriors' skill. But there were too many. The Grath had brought overwhelming numbers. Beyond the collapsed wall he heard fighting. Close. Desperate. Daeun studied the collapsed tunnel. The supports were damaged but not destroyed. He recognized the mining charges attached to the walls. The colony used them to expand tunnels, carefully controlled explosions. He gathered 3 charges and set them at key structural points. Then he moved to a safe distance and triggered them remotely. The explosion was smaller than the Grath attack had been. Precise. The collapsed wall shattered, creating a new opening. Daeun went through before the dust settled. The chamber beyond was a massacre. Dead Grath everywhere, and in the center the Valeth warriors made their stand. 3 were down. Daeun could not tell if they were dead or just injured. Aaron fought at the front, her blade flashing. Kairos guarded her back. 2 other warriors held the flanks, but more Grath poured in from another tunnel. At least 20, maybe more. Daeun raised his rifle and started shooting. He targeted with mechanical precision, headshots when possible, center mass when the Grath wore helmets. He never wasted a shot. Each trigger pull meant 1 less enemy. The Grath finally noticed him. 5 broke off from the main group and charged his position. Daeun dropped 2 before they covered half the distance. The third took a shot to the leg and fell. The fourth came within striking range. Daeun dodged its claws and shot it point blank in the chest. The fifth was too close to shoot. He blocked its claws with his rifle, felt the weapon crack under the impact. Then he drove his knife up under its jaw and into its brain. He picked up the fallen Grath's weapon, a crude axe heavy and brutal. It would do. More Grath came. Daeun killed them. He used the environment, triggered a mining cart to crush 3, collapsed a support beam onto 2 more, shot the rest. When his rifle ran dry, he used the axe. When the axe broke, he used his knife and a Grath's own claws torn from its dead hand. He fought like a machine. No wasted movement. No hesitation. No mercy. The Valeth warriors could only stare. Kairos found his voice first. Who in the burning void is that? The human, Aaron said quietly. Blood dripped from a wound in her side. That is Daeun. That is not a cargo worker, Kairos said. No, it is not. The last Grath fell. Daeun stood among the bodies covered in alien blood. His chest heaved with exertion. His hands shook slightly. Then he forced them still and turned to face the Valith warriors. Are you injured? His voice was calm, professional. Aaron stared at him. Mira has a broken leg. Taven has a plasma burn. I have a wound in my side. The others are manageable. Daeun nodded. He moved to check each warrior with efficient movements. His hands were gentle despite their earlier violence. He stabilized Mira's leg with a piece of debris and fabric from his jacket. He sealed Taven's burn with emergency foam from a medical kit. When he reached Aaron, she caught his wrist. How? Later, we need to move. That explosion will draw more Greth. I asked you a question, human. Daeun met her eyes. The same eyes that had seen emptiness before now saw something different. Something darker. I told you. I was a soldier. No, soldiers do not fight like that. That was efficient, Daeun interrupted. That was efficient. Now we need to leave before I have to be efficient again. He helped her to her feet. Kairos and the other mobile warrior supported the injured. They moved back through the tunnels toward the shuttle. Twice more Grath patrols found them. Twice more Daeun killed them before they could raise an alarm. The Valith warriors saw him move, saw him shoot, saw him kill with the casual ease of someone who had done it thousands of times before. They reached the shuttle. Daeun helped load the injured warriors, then moved to the pilot controls. Can any of you fly? Kairos nodded, still staring at him with something between awe and fear. Then fly. Get everyone back to the ship. I need to make sure we are not followed. What are you going to do? Aaron asked. Make noise elsewhere. Draw them away from your escape vector. That is suicide. No, that is tactical diversion. I have done it before. Aaron grabbed his arm with surprising strength despite her wound. You are under my command. You will return with us. That is an order. Daeun looked at her hand, then at her face. Something soft flickered in his expression. You showed me mercy when you could have killed me. You gave me purpose when I had none. Consider this my payment for that gift. Your payment was one cycle of service. This exceeds. This is not about debt, Daeun said quietly. This is about making sure you survive. Because you deserve to survive. All of you do. He pulled free and moved to the shuttle ramp. Kairos started the engines. Aaron tried to stand, but her wound made her gasp. Daeun, she called. He turned back. Smiled slightly. I will see you on the ship, Commander. I promise. Then he was gone, disappearing back into the colony tunnels. The shuttle lifted off. Through the viewport, Aaron saw explosions blossom across the colony. Secondary mining charges, she realized. Daeun was triggering them systematically, creating chaos, drawing every Grath toward himself away from the shuttle. He is insane, Kairos said. No, Aaron replied. She pressed her hand to her wound, watching the colony shrink as they climbed toward orbit. He is something worse. He is a human who remembers what he was, and does not care if he dies, proving he is something better. The shuttle docked with Talon's Edge. The wounded were rushed to medical. Aaron refused treatment until she reached the bridge. She watched the colony through the main viewport. An hour passed. Then two, no signal from Daeun. Aaron stood vigil, ignoring the blood seeping through her armor. She would not move. Daeun woke to white walls and the smell of medical antiseptic. His body felt distant, wrapped in the fog of pain medication. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Do not. Aaron's voice came from his left. She sat in a chair beside the medical bed, her armor replaced with simple clothing. The wound in her side was bandaged, but she moved stiffly. How long? Daeun's voice was rough. 2 days. You lost a significant amount of blood. The doctor said you should have died 3 times over. She paused. Why did you not? Habit. He tried to smile, but his split lip made it painful. Dying is harder than people think. That is not funny. I was not joking. Aaron stood and moved to the window. The medical bay overlooked the ship's main corridor. She watched the crew move past, warriors going about their duties. I accessed your records, she said quietly. Your real records, not the false identity you used as a cargo worker. Daeun's eyes closed. Of course she had. He would have done the same in her position. Your name is not just Daeun. It is Daeun of Terra, former lieutenant commander in Earth's Void Corps. service record spanning 30 years. She turned to face him. 30 years, Dayon. You look barely 40. How is that possible? Time dilation from faster-than-light travel. Medical treatments to keep soldiers combat ready. When you fight in space, aging becomes strange. You fought in the human reunification wars, it was not a question. Dayon opened his eyes and met her gaze. Yes, tell me about it. I want to understand. Why? What difference does it make? Because I need to know what kind of warrior you are. And because you deserve to tell your story. Even if it hurts, Dayon was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to speak. Humans spread across the stars too quickly. Hundreds of colonies on hundreds of worlds. We lost touch with each other. Lost our common identity. Then a plague came. It killed billions. Earth and the inner colonies survived because they had the best medical facilities. The outer colonies suffered. They thought Earth had abandoned them. Maybe they were right. He shifted in the bed, pain flaring across his ribs. When people are desperate and angry, they make desperate choices. The outer colonies banded together, declared independence. Earth refused to let them go. Too much pride. Too much fear of losing control. So we went to war. Brother against brother, Aaron said softly. Exactly. I was young when it started. Barely 20. I believed in the cause. Believed we were protecting humanity's future. I volunteered for special operations. They trained us for the worst missions. The ones regular soldiers could not or would not do. What kind of missions? Dayon's eyes grew distant. Assassinations, sabotage, terror strikes. We would land on a colony world, eliminate key targets and disappear. Make the enemy afraid. Make them question their leaders. Break their will to fight. You were an executioner. We called ourselves the Ashen Wolves, because we left nothing but ashes behind. He laughed bitterly. We thought we were heroes. Ending the war faster. Saving lives in the long term. The things we told ourselves to sleep at night. Aaron sat back down. How long did you do this? 23 years. I lost count of the missions after the first 100. Lost count of the deaths after the first 1,000. He looked at his hands. They were bandaged, but he could still see the scars beneath. We were good at it, too good. They kept sending us on harder missions, more impossible situations, and we kept succeeding. What ended it? The war itself. Both sides finally exhausted themselves. Too many dead. Too much destruction. They signed peace treaties and pretended like none of it had happened. Earth reintegrated the colonies, offered pardons to soldiers on both sides. He paused. Except units like mine. We had done things that were too dark to forgive. Things that both sides wanted to forget. What happened to your unit? Disbanded. We were given new identities and told to disappear. Most did. Some could not adjust to civilian life. They killed themselves within a year. Others turned to crime. Became mercenaries. Anything to fill the void. And you? I tried to disappear. Worked different jobs on different worlds. But I was not designed for peace. I kept seeing enemies that were not there. Kept reaching for weapons that did not exist. So I kept moving. Kept running. Ended up working cargo on Calith Prime because no one asked questions about cargo workers. Aaron was silent for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was gentle. Do you regret what you did? Every day. Every single day. Dayon's voice cracked slightly. I see their faces. The people I killed. Most of them were soldiers like me. Just following orders. Believing in their cause. Some were not soldiers at all. Civilians who happened to be in the wrong place. I tell myself it was war. That I was following orders. But that does not bring them back. Is that why you let Kiros beat you in the sparring match? Why you stayed with the shuttle when we deployed? You were trying to avoid violence. I made a promise to myself. No more killing. No more war. I would serve out my debt to you quietly and then disappear again. Find some remote colony where no one knew my name. Live out the rest of my life in peace. He looked at her. But then I heard you screaming on the communications. And I remembered what it felt like to protect people instead of killing them. I remembered what it felt like to be a soldier for a reason that actually mattered. You saved my unit. Saved me. I broke my promise. Used violence again. Killed again. His voice dropped to a whisper. And the worst part? It felt good. Natural. Like coming home to a place I hate but cannot leave. Aaron reached out and took his hand. Dayon flinched at the contact but did not pull away. Listen to me, Dayon of Terra. I have commanded warriors for 15 years. I have seen soldiers who loved violence, who killed for pleasure, who enjoyed the power it gave them. She squeezed his hand. You are not one of them. You killed to protect, to save lives. That is not the same as what you did during the war. How can you be sure? Because after you saved us, you tried to sacrifice yourself so we could escape. Because you collapsed from wounds that would have stopped most warriors hours earlier. Because right now you are not boasting about your kills or asking for glory. You are questioning whether you should have killed at all. She met his eyes. That is not a monster, Dayun. That is a good man carrying too much weight. Your people have a saying, Dayun said. The blade that cuts in anger is cursed. The blade that protects is blessed. I do not know which kind of blade I am anymore. Then let me help you find out. Stay with my unit, not as a servant. As a warrior, let us give you a reason to use your skills that does not poison your soul. I do not deserve that chance, perhaps not. But I am offering it anyway, because you gave me a chance when you could have let the Grath kill us all. Consider this my way of returning that gift. Dayun was quiet. His mind churned with memories and doubts. The faces of the dead, the weight of 30 years of violence, the desperate hope that perhaps maybe he could find some kind of redemption. If I stay, he said slowly, I will not hide what I am anymore. Your warriors deserve to know the truth. They deserve to decide if they can trust me. Agreed. And if the nightmares come back, if I become a danger to your crew, you will confine me, or kill me if necessary. That will not happen. Promise me anyway. Aaron nodded. I promise, Dayun closed his eyes. Exhaustion pulled at him deeper than any physical wound. I do not know if I can be the person you think I am. You do not have to be anyone except yourself. The real you, not the soldier Earth made, not the ghost hiding in cargo bays. Just Dayun, let that be enough. What if it is not? Then we will face that together. But you will not face it alone, not anymore. She stood and moved toward the door. Before leaving, she looked back at him. Rest, Dayun. Heal. When you are ready, we will talk about your place in my unit. For now, know this, you are no longer a servant. You are a warrior of the 7th Claw, and we take care of our own. The door closed softly behind her. Dayun lay in the medical bed, staring at the ceiling. For 30 years he had carried the weight of the reunification wars. For 30 years he had run from what he was. For 30 years he had believed he was beyond redemption. Maybe Aaron was wrong. Maybe he was still the monster he feared. But for the first time in longer than he could remember, someone had looked past his sins and seen something worth saving. Someone had offered him not forgiveness, he did not deserve that, but a chance to earn it. He thought about the Valeth warriors, how they had fought beside him, how Kairos had looked at him with something between fear and respect, how Aaron had held his hand and called him a good man. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps the blade that cut in anger could be reforged into something better, or perhaps he would fail. Fall back into the darkness, prove that once a killer, always a killer. But he owed it to Aaron to try, owed it to her warriors who had accepted him, owed it to the memory of every person he had killed, and maybe somewhere beneath the scars and trauma and guilt, he owed it to himself. Dayun closed his eyes and let sleep take him. This time the dreams that came were not entirely nightmares. This time, between the faces of the dead, he saw glimpses of something else. Hope. Fragile and uncertain, but alive. It would have to be enough. 3 months passed. Dayun became part of the 7th Claw in ways he never expected. The Valeth warriors accepted him not as an equal. They were too proud for that, but as something close. A human who had proven himself in blood, Kairos trained with him daily. The Valeth warrior pushed him hard, testing his limits. Dayun never complained. He welcomed the pain. It kept the memories at bay. Aaron gave him access to the ship's weapon systems. Dayun upgraded their targeting computers and optimized their ammunition distribution. Small improvements that made the unit more effective. He felt useful. For the first time in years, he felt like he belonged somewhere. But peace never lasted. The ship's alarms woke him in the middle of sleep cycle. Dayun grabbed his weapon and rushed to the bridge. The entire unit was already there, surrounding the tactical display. Aaron looked up as he entered. Dayun. Good. I need your opinion on this. The display showed a sector of space near the border. Multiple Grath signatures clustered around a massive energy reading. Dominion intelligence detected unusual Grath fleet movements, Aaron explained. They are gathering near the Keltar Rift. This many ships in one place suggests either a major operation or a trap, Dayun finished. He studied the display with the practiced eye of someone who had planned ambushes before. The energy reading is wrong, too strong for a normal fleet. They want you to investigate. The Dominion Guard agrees with your assessment. That is why they are sending multiple reconnaissance ships, Talon's Edge included. Aaron's expression was grim. We jump in 2 hours. Full stealth protocols. If it is a trap, we document it and retreat. Simple. Dayun felt unease crawl up his spine. Nothing is ever simple when the enemy wants you to find them. He was right. The jump brought them to the edge of the Keltar Rift. Space twisted here. Natural gravitational anomalies that played havoc with sensors. Perfect place for an ambush. The bridge was quiet as they scanned for the Grath fleet. The massive energy reading pulsed on their screens, but no ships appeared. Where are they? Kairos muttered. Dayun watched the sensor readings. Something was wrong. The energy signature was moving. Not like a ship. Like a net closing, Commander, he said urgently. We need to leave now. What do you see? This is not a fleet. This is a sensor trap. They are masking their real positions with... The ship rocked violently. Alarm screamed. The main display lit up with red signatures. Ships appeared from nowhere, dropping their stealth fields simultaneously. Grath hunter ships. Dozens of them. Surrounding Talon's Edge in a perfect killing sphere. All power to shields, Aaron commanded. Weapons free. Get us out of here. The ship shuddered as plasma fire raked across their hull. The pilot tried to break free, but more Grath ships appeared in their escape vector. Every direction was blocked. We have a traitor, Dayun said quietly. He pointed to the tactical display. They knew exactly where we would be. Our entry vector, our stealth frequency, everything. Aaron's eyes went cold. Who? Before anyone could answer, one of the bridge warriors, Selen, a female with darker scales, pulled her weapon and aimed it at the pilot. Do not change course. Maintain position. Selen, Kairos roared. What are you doing? Surviving. Her voice was flat, emotionless. The Grath offered me wealth beyond measure. All I had to do was deliver you to them. So here you are. Delivered. Aaron's hand moved to her blade, but Selen pressed the weapon harder against the pilot's head. Do not. I will kill him before you reach me. Without a pilot, you die even faster. Why? Aaron's voice shook with fury. You are Valith. You swore oaths. Oaths do not feed my family. The Dominion pays warriors well, but not well enough to justify dying for their politics. The Grath offered me a fortune. Enough to retire. To live in comfort. I took it. She smiled coldly. You would do the same if you were smart. I would rather die with honor than live as a traitor. Aaron spat. Then today you will get your wish. The ship rocked again. Hull breaches reported on multiple decks. Casualties mounting, Dayun studied the tactical display. His mind raced through possibilities. They were outgunned, surrounded. The Grath would board soon and kill everyone unless... Commander, he said quietly, I have a plan. You will not like it. Aaron looked at him, saw something in his expression that made her pause. What kind of plan? The suicidal kind. The only kind that works when you are already dead. Explain. Dayun moved to the tactical console. His fingers flew across the controls. The Grath want the ship intact. That is why they are not using their heavy weapons. They want to capture it and learn our technology. That is their weakness. How does that help us? If we cannot escape, we hurt them. We board their flagship and destroy it from the inside. Cut off the head and the body dies. The other Grath ships will break formation to protect their commander. In that chaos, Talon's Edge might be able to escape. Might? Kiro said incredulously. You want us to throw our lives away on might? I want you to have a chance to live. Right now you have none. Dayun pulled up the Grath flagship's position. That ship is their command vessel. Kill it and this trap falls apart. Your crew escapes. Your warriors live. You die with honor instead of being slaughtered like animals. The bridge was silent except for the sounds of battle. Aaron studied the display, studied Dayun's face. How many warriors would this mission need? 6, no more. Stealth boarding craft. In and out before they realize what happened. 6 warriors against an entire Grath capital ship. Those are impossible odds. Yes, Dayun agreed, but I am very good at impossible. Aaron was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to her crew. I will lead the boarding party. Volunteers only. Everyone else focuses on keeping this ship alive long enough for us to succeed. Every warrior on the bridge stepped forward. Aaron selected 4 of her best: Kairos, Varric, Mira, Taven, plus herself and Daeun made 6. What about me? Selen asked. She still held the pilot at gunpoint. Aaron looked at her with pure contempt. You will stay here and watch us die for the honor you sold. If we somehow survive, I will personally execute you myself. They left the bridge, moved to the hangar where a small assault craft waited, designed for boarding actions exactly like this. As they armed themselves, Kairos moved beside Daeun. You know we will probably die. Yes. And you still volunteer. Someone has to. Might as well be the human who already has too much blood on his hands. You are either the bravest person I have ever met or the most insane. Daeun checked his weapon. Can't it be both? Kairos laughed despite the situation. Yes, human. I suppose it can. Aaron approached. She had sealed her armor and carried her blade. The crimson surface was still marked with the dark smear from where Daeun had bumped into her months ago. She had never cleaned it off. Why? Daeun asked, pointing at the mark. Because it reminds me that first impressions are often wrong, that sometimes the person you want to kill becomes the one you trust most. She met his eyes. Whatever happens today, know that you have proven yourself a warrior worthy of respect. Commander Aaron, if I do not make it back, no. She cut him off. No goodbyes. We all come back or none of us do. That is how the 7th Claw operates. They boarded the assault craft. The pilot, a young warrior named Jiho, sealed the hatch and initiated launch sequence. May the winds carry us swift, Jiho said, speaking the traditional Valith prayer before battle. And the earth remember our names, the warriors responded in unison. Daeun said nothing. He had no gods to pray to, no earth to remember him. He had only the mission and the faint hope that his death might mean something. The assault craft launched into hell. Grath ships immediately detected them. Plasma fire lit up the darkness. Jiho flew like a demon, twisting between shots that would have vaporized them. The craft's hull screamed in protest. 30 seconds to target, Jiho called. The Grath flagship loomed ahead. Massive and brutal, its hull covered in weapons. It looked like something designed by nightmares. Brace for impact. The assault craft slammed into the flagship's docking bay. The impact threw everyone forward against their restraints. Before the Grath could react, the hatch blew open and the warriors poured out. Daeun moved first. He dropped 3 Grath guards before they could raise their weapons. Kairos and Varric flanked him, covering the exits. Mira and Taven secured their insertion point. Aaron coordinated from the center. Main reactor is 17 decks down, Daeun reported, checking his tactical scanner. Heavy resistance expected. We move fast and quiet until contact is inevitable. Then we move fast and loud. They descended into the ship's guts. The Grath vessel was a maze of corridors and chambers. Everything was larger than human or Valith ships. Built for creatures that valued size over efficiency, they made it 6 decks before the alarm screamed. Contact, Varric called. Multiple hostiles. The Grath came in waves, massive warriors in heavy armor, wielding weapons designed to tear through ships. The boarding team fought with desperate precision. Every shot had to count. Every movement had to be perfect. Mira took a hit. Plasma burned through her shoulder. She fell back, still firing with her other arm. Keep moving, Aaron commanded. We are committed now. They fought through deck after deck. The Grath numbers seemed endless. For every one they killed, 2 more appeared. Taven went down on the 13th deck. A Grath warrior crushed his helmet with 1 blow. He died instantly. No time to mourn, Daeun shouted. Keep pushing. 4 decks left, 3, 2. They burst into the reactor chamber. The core pulsed with deadly energy. Barely Cornac moved faster than something his size should. His massive blade swept toward Aaron. She barely rolled aside in time. The weapon carved a trench in the metal floor. Daeun fired at the Grath commander. The shots bounced off thick armor plating. Cornac laughed, a sound like mountains breaking. Puny weapons, he roared. Puny warriors! You die slow. 2 elite guards flanked Kairos. The Valith warrior fought with everything he had, but they were pushing him back toward the reactor's edge. One wrong step and the radiation would cook him alive. Daeun switched targets. He shot 1 guard in the exposed joint between armor plates. The creature stumbled. Kairos used the opening to drive his blade through its throat. Thanks, human, Kairos called. Don't thank me yet. The other 2 guards charged Daeun. He dodged the first strike, used his smaller size to stay inside their reach where the long weapons were less effective. He drove his combat knife into one's knee joint. The guard howled and fell. Down shot at point blank in the head. The second guard caught him with a backhand that sent him flying. He crashed into a reactor support column. Pain exploded through his ribs. At least 2 were broken. Maybe more. He forced himself to stand. Pain was just information. Information could be ignored. Aaron and Cornac fought in the center of the chamber. The Grath commander had size and strength. Aaron had speed and skill. Her blade danced around his strikes, finding weak points in his armor. But she was tiring. Each wound she inflicted was shallow. Each defense took more effort than the last. Cornac caught her blade between his own weapon's twin edges. He twisted. Aaron's sword shattered. She stared at the broken blade in her hand. Her weapon. Her pride. Gone. Cornac raised his sword for the killing blow. Kiros screamed and charged. He hit the Grath commander from the side, his full weight behind the impact. Cornac staggered. Not much, but enough. Aaron rolled away from the strike, grabbed Mira's fallen weapon, came up ready to fight. Nice save, she said to Kiros. We are even for the mining colony, he replied, breathing hard. The last elite guard tried to flank them. Dayun intercepted. His ribs screamed, but he moved anyway. He could not match the Grath's strength, so he used technique instead, redirected the guard's strikes, used its momentum against it, led it toward the reactor's magnetic containment field. At the last moment, Dayun ducked. The guard's own swing carried it forward.
Into the field.
The magnetic forces grabbed hold and pulled. The guard tried to resist, but physics did not care. It was dragged into the reactor's heart. Its screams lasted 3 seconds before the heat turned it to ash. 3 left, Aaron, Dayun, Kiros against Cornac. Still strong, still fast, still terrifying. You fight well, Cornac admitted. He was not even breathing hard. For prey animals. But the hunt ends now, he charged Aaron. She met his rush with her borrowed blade. Steel rang against steel. She was skilled enough to survive. Not skilled enough to win, Dayun circled behind. He had finished placing the explosive charges around the reactor. The detonator was in his hand. 1 button. That was all it would take. But if he triggered it now, they all died. There was no time to escape. He watched Aaron fight, saw her taking damage, saw the exhaustion in her movements. She would not survive much longer. Neither would Kiros, currently fighting off secondary guards that had arrived as reinforcements. Dayun looked at the detonator, then at the escape pods on the chamber's far wall. Emergency evacuation in case of reactor breach. 1 pod. Made for Grath. Probably big enough for 2 Valeth warriors. Math was simple. 3 of them. 1 escape pod. 2 could fit. 1 had to stay and trigger the detonator manually. Dayun had always known how this would end. He moved to the control panel for the escape pod. Initiated launch sequence. It would take 30 seconds to prep. Aaron, he shouted. Kiros, the pod, go. What about you? Aaron called back. She blocked another strike from Cornac. Someone has to trigger the charges. The detonator is damaged. Manual activation only. No. Aaron's voice cracked. We do not leave warriors behind. You don't have a choice. Go. Kiros grabbed Aaron's arm. He is right, Commander. We cannot win this fight, but we can make his sacrifice mean something. Kiros, he is already dead. We all are, but maybe we do not have to be. Kiros pulled her toward the pod. Honor his choice. Let him die a warrior. Aaron met Dayun's eyes across the chamber, 30 meters of hell between them. She saw the determination in his face. The peace. He had already made his choice. Thank you, she whispered, knowing he could not hear over the battle sounds. Thank you for showing me what humans are capable of. She let Kiros pull her into the pod. Cornac saw his prey escaping. He roared and charged toward them. Dayun stepped into his path. The Grath commander could have gone around, should have gone around. But rage made him stupid. He saw the human who had killed so many of his warriors. The human who had destroyed his trap. The human who stood defiant even in death. He wanted that human dead more than he wanted the Valeth. You, Cornac snarled. You made this happen. You will die screaming. Probably, Dayun agreed. He raised his weapon. But you die first, Cornac charged. Dayun fired every remaining shot into the Grath's face. The armor absorbed most of it. But some rounds found gaps, drew blood, made the monster angry. Cornac's blade swept toward him. Down could not dodge, not with broken ribs, not with exhaustion pulling at every muscle. The blade caught his side and cut deep. Pain. So much pain. Dayun fell. His weapon clattered away. Blood pooled beneath him. Cornac stood over him, raised his blade for the final strike. Die, human. Die knowing your friends abandoned you. Die knowing you achieved nothing. Daeun smiled. Blood stained his teeth. Wrong. I achieved everything. He triggered the detonator. The explosives around the reactor went off simultaneously. The magnetic containment shattered. The reactor core breached. Energy vomited outward in a wave of destruction. Cornac had time for one scream before the heat turned him to ash. Daeun closed his eyes. The pain was distant now, fading. He thought about his life. The wars, the deaths, the guilt that had haunted him for so long. He thought about Aren, how she had seen past his sins, how she had given him a chance to be something better. He thought about the Seventh Claw, warriors who had accepted him, trusted him, fought beside him. He thought about the faces of the dead, all the people he had killed during the reunification wars, all the innocents caught in the crossfire. Maybe this made up for it, maybe not, but it was enough. The reactor's explosion consumed the chamber, consumed the deck, consumed half the Grath flagship. The massive vessel shuddered. Secondary explosions ripped through it. Within minutes, the entire ship was breaking apart. The escape pod launched from the dying vessel. Inside, Aren and Kairos watched through the viewport as the flagship died. He did it, Kairos said quietly. The insane human actually did it. The other Grath ships broke formation, exactly as Daeun had predicted. Without their commander, they scattered, each captain trying to take control, fighting among themselves. The Talon's Edge used the chaos to escape, damaged but alive. The crew would survive. In the escape pod, Aren touched the viewport. Her hand rested against the glass as if she could reach through it and bring Daeun back. He smiled, she said softly. At the end. Did you see? He smiled. He died a warrior's death, Kairos replied. He saved his unit. Saved his ship. Saved hundreds of lives. What greater honor exists? He deserved to live. To see that his sacrifice mattered. To know he was more than his past. He knew. I saw it in his eyes when we boarded that ship. He already knew. Aren was silent. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. Valeth did not cry often, only for the greatest losses. I should have held him back, she whispered. Ordered him to stay on the ship. He would still be alive. No, he would have gone anyway. That is who he was. A human who remembered what it meant to protect others, even if it cost him everything. The escape pod drifted toward the Talon's Edge. Behind them, the Grath flagship's reactor finally went critical. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star, beautiful and terrible, a warrior's funeral pyre. Aren watched until the light faded, until there was nothing left but debris and memory. His name will be honored, she said. Her voice was steel-wrapped in grief. Every Valeth warrior will know what Daeun of Terra did today. Every child will hear his story. He will not be forgotten. The Ashen Wolf found his peace, Kairos said. No, Aren replied. He found something better. He found redemption. The escape pod docked with Talon's Edge. Aren and Kairos emerged to cheers from the crew. They had survived the impossible, but Aren felt no joy, only a hollow emptiness where a friend had been. She moved to the bridge. Selen still stood there, held at gunpoint by other warriors. The traitor saw Aren's expression and paled. Commander, I can explain. Aren's blade took her head off in one smooth stroke. The body fell. No one moved to stop it. Traitors deserved no mercy. Dispose of that, Aren said coldly. Then set course for Valeth space. We have a report to deliver, and a warrior to honor. The bridge crew moved to obey. Aren walked to her quarters, closed the door, and finally, alone, allowed herself to grieve. She thought about the first time she met Daeun, her blade at his throat, his eyes staring back at her without fear. She had seen something in those eyes, something that mad 6 months passed like a river through stone, slow but unstoppable, leaving marks that would never fade. Aren stood before the Council of Spears on the Valeth homeworld. The chamber was ancient, its walls carved from black stone quarried from the planet's deepest mountains. 12 elder warriors sat in judgment, their armor bearing the marks of countless battles. She had given her report 3 times now. Each time they asked more questions. Each time she gave the same answers. The truth. All of it. The High Commander, an old warrior named Vorik, with scales faded to gray, leaned forward. Let me understand this correctly, Commander Aaron. You brought a human into your unit. A human with a violent past. A human who had committed what you describe as war crimes. And you trusted this human with your life. Yes, High Commander. Why? Aaron met his gaze without flinching. Because he earned that trust. With his actions. With his sacrifice. With the blood he shed protecting my warriors. One good deed does not erase a history of violence. No, Aaron agreed. But a lifetime of violence does not erase one moment of perfect heroism. Dayun destroyed a Grath flagship, saved my ship, saved hundreds of Valeth lives. He did this knowing he would die. That is not the action of a monster. That is the action of a warrior. Another council member spoke. Councillor Hera, younger but no less severe. The Grath fleet was gathering for an invasion. Our intelligence now confirms this. If that flagship had not been destroyed, if the fleet had not broken apart, they would have struck at our colonies within weeks. Millions of our people would have died. Yes, Counselor. So this human, this Dayon of Terra, he saved not just your ship, he saved entire worlds. Yes, the council members looked at each other, silent communication passing between them. High Commander Vorik spoke again. You wish to honor him, to add his name to the Memorial of Warriors. This is unprecedented. The memorial is for Valeth, for those who gave their lives defending our people. Dayun was not Valeth by birth, Aaron said, but he died defending Valeth lives. He died as one of my warriors. That should be enough. What of his past? The crimes he committed during the human reunification wars? We have reviewed the records you provided. This Ashen Wolves unit he commanded, they were executioners, assassins, they killed thousands. During a war that both sides wanted to forget. Following orders from leaders who were never punished. Yes, he did terrible things. He lived with that guilt every day. It haunted him. Broke him. But in the end, when given a choice between running away and sacrificing himself, he chose sacrifice. Does that count for nothing? It counts for much, Vorik admitted. But is it enough? Aaron took a breath. She had prepared for this moment. High Commander, members of the Council, I have served our people for 15 years. I have led warriors in battle, trained new recruits, fought enemies across a dozen worlds. In all that time, I have never met anyone who understood the weight of duty better than Dayon of Terra. She stepped forward. He did not ask for glory. He did not seek redemption through words or excuses. He simply did what needed to be done. He protected people weaker than himself. He gave his life so others could live. That is the essence of what we claim to be. That is the code every Valeth warrior swears to uphold. You speak with passion, Counselor Hera observed. I speak with truth. Dayun showed me what humanity is capable of. Not just violence. Not just war. But sacrifice that asks for nothing in return. Love that expects no reward. Courage that endures even when hope is gone. Aaron's voice grew stronger. We call ourselves the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We take pride in our honor and strength. But this human, this broken, haunted human, taught me more about being a warrior than 15 years of service ever did. How? Vorik asked quietly. Because he fought not for glory or honor or pride. He fought because it was right. Because people needed protecting. Because someone had to stand between the innocent and the darkness. That is what a warrior should be. Not someone who seeks battle, but someone who ends it. The chamber was silent. Finally, Vorik stood. We will deliberate. You are dismissed, Commander. Aaron saluted and left. She walked through the ancient corridors of the council building, past statues of legendary warriors, past murals depicting glorious battles, past centuries of Valeth pride and tradition. She wondered if Dayun's name would join them, or if his sacrifice would be forgotten because he was not born Valeth. 3 days later, they summoned her back. The Council of Spears stood as she entered. All 12 of them. This was unusual. They only stood for matters of greatest importance. High Commander Vorik spoke. Commander Aaron, the Council has debated extensively. We have reviewed all evidence, consulted our histories, discussed with other commanders who have fought beside alien species. He paused. We have reached a decision. Aaron held her breath. Dayun of Terra will be honored at the Memorial of Warriors. His name will be carved alongside our greatest defenders, not because he was Valeth, but because he embodied the ideals we claim to represent. He will be the first non-Valeth to receive this honor, but he will not be the last. Relief flooded through her. Thank you, High Commander. Do not thank us yet. There are conditions. Vorik's expression was stern. You will oversee his remembrance ceremony. You will speak of both his crimes and his redemption. The truth must be told. Future warriors must understand that heroism does not erase the past. It transcends it. I understand. Good. The ceremony will be held in 3 days. Prepare your words carefully. This will set precedent for generations. The ceremony drew thousands. Warriors from across Valeth space came to witness. Some to honor a hero, some to question why an alien received such recognition, all curious about the human who had changed their military traditions. The Memorial of Warriors stood in the heart of the capital city. A massive wall of black stone stretching hundreds of meters. Names covered every surface. Thousands upon thousands of Valeth who had given their lives in service. And now, one new name, carved fresh, still white against the black stone. Dayun of Terra, warrior of the Seventh Claw, savior of Valeth space. Erin stood before the memorial. Behind her, the crowd waited. Cairo stood at her right side. The survivors of the Seventh Claw at her left, all of them wearing ceremonial armor. She began to speak. I met Dayun 6 months ago. I held my blade to his throat because he had accidentally marked my armor. I could have killed him. Perhaps I should have. Instead, I saw something in his eyes that made me hesitate. She paused. I saw a warrior who had forgotten what he was. A soldier who had lost his way. A human carrying more weight than anyone should bear. The crowd listened in silence. Dayun was not always a hero. Before he came to us, he was a weapon. His species used him in a terrible war. Made him do terrible things. He killed thousands. Destroyed worlds. Became something he hated. When the war ended, he tried to disappear. To become invisible. To forget. She touched the carved name on the wall. But we do not get to forget what we are. Dayun learned that. When my warriors were trapped and dying, when the Grath had us surrounded, this human who wanted only peace picked up a weapon and remembered. He remembered what it meant to protect, to defend, to sacrifice. He could have stayed on our ship, could have let us die, could have saved himself. Instead, he fought through an army to reach us. He saved my life. Saved my unit, and when faced with an impossible mission, a suicide attack on a Grath flagship, he volunteered without hesitation. Her voice grew stronger. The council asked me why I wished to honor a human, why I wished to place his name beside the greatest Valeth warriors. I will tell you why. Because Dayun of Terra taught me that heroism is not about what species you belong to. It is not about your past or your sins or your mistakes. It is about what you choose to do when everything is on the line. It is about standing between innocent lives and certain death. It is about giving everything and asking for nothing. She turned to face the crowd. We Valeth pride ourselves on being warriors. We train from childhood. We dedicate our lives to martial perfection. We believe we are the galaxy's greatest fighters. But this human, this broken, haunted, guilt-ridden human, showed me what true strength looks like. Not the strength to kill, the strength to die for something that matters. His name stands on this memorial not as an exception to our traditions, but as an expansion of them. From this day forward, any warrior, any species who gives their life defending Valeth people will be honored here. Because Dayun taught us that courage has no species, honor has no borders, and sacrifice needs no translation. The crowd erupted, some in approval, some in protest. But the sound washed over Erin without touching her. She pressed her palm against Dayun's name. The stone was cool under her hand. Rest now, warrior, she whispered. Your war is over. Your burden is lifted. You are remembered. You are honored. You are home. Movement at the edge of the crowd caught her attention. Figures in strange uniforms. Not Valeth. Not any species she immediately recognized. Then she saw the insignia. Earth. Humanity. A delegation from Terra. They approached slowly. The crowd parted for them. 6 humans, all wearing formal military dress. An older man led them, his uniform covered in medals. His hair was gray, but his eyes were sharp. He stopped before Erin and saluted. Commander Erin,